Scroll disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Suitable for audiences aged 20 and above. It was just a regular evening, warm water fogging the mirrors, the soft scent of lavender soap hanging in the air, and the sound of water echoing in the tiled bathroom. Mira had always loved these quiet moments, just her, the steam, and silence. She thought the shower was her last safe space. But that night, it wasn't. She was washing her legs, her fingers gliding across skin she barely had time to notice anymore. That's when she felt his hand, Alex, her husband of 5 years, touch her ankle gently, almost absently. It should have been a familiar comfort. But something about the way his hand lingered, then froze, made her heart drop. He didn't say a word at first. Just stared. Then asked, quietly, "Mira, what's that?" Mira's breath caught. She turned slowly, water streaming down her body, and met his eyes, searching, hurt, and something else. Suspicion? Fear? She couldn't tell. The mark on her leg, barely visible, a faded scar, almost like an old tattoo, had never meant anything to him before. But tonight, it did. And suddenly, everything felt fragile. Alex and Mira used to be inseparable. They were the kind of couple who finished each other's sentences and held hands while grocery shopping. But lately, love had turned into routine. Laughter faded into silence. And beneath the perfect couple image, something darker had started to bloom: questions, distance, and long, quiet nights of pretending nothing was wrong. Alex had his secrets. Mira had hers. But until now, they'd both pretended not to notice the emotional weight dragging between them. That mark on Mira's leg, it was more than just a scar. It was a memory. A mistake. A promise she made before Alex, and a truth she never thought he'd find. "Tell me the truth," he whispered, his hands still on her skin, eyes not leaving the mark. And just like that, the steamy silence turned into ice. The sound of the phone buzzing was sharp in the quiet. Mira's gaze flicked to it, the screen still lit. One name. One that didn't belong in this room. Alex stepped back slowly, as if burned, not by the water, but by something deeper. "Who is that?" His voice wasn't loud. It was worse. It was low, controlled, tinged with the kind of hurt that comes from already knowing the answer but needing to hear it anyway. Mira clutched the towel, wrapping it around herself like armor. She wasn't ready. Not for this. Not tonight. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the space between them thick with steam and unspoken truths. "It's nothing," she said finally. Too fast. Too soft. Alex's jaw tightened. "Mira, don't lie. Not now." That mark on her leg, the one he touched, he hadn't seen it before, not really. It wasn't just a scar. It was a symbol. The kind someone used to wear when they were part of something, someone else's world. A world Mira once left behind. Or tried to. Their love hadn't always been like this. Mira remembered the way Alex used to kiss her forehead before sleep, his fingers tracing her spine like he was memorizing her. She remembered falling asleep in his arms, thinking she'd never feel safer. But safety turned to comfort. Comfort turned to silence. And lately, silence felt like the loudest thing in their marriage. "I thought we told each other everything," Alex said, his voice cracking just slightly. That vulnerability, it broke her heart. Because part of her still loved him deeply. But part of her wasn't sure who she was anymore. "You don't understand," she whispered, stepping closer. "It was before you. Before us. It didn't matter, until now." "But it does now," he said, stepping back. They stood there, water dripping from her hair onto the cold tiles, the heat fading from the air between them. Mira reached for his hand, but he didn't take it. Instead, he looked at her like she was a stranger in his home. In his heart. And somewhere deep down, she wondered if she still belonged. Mira sat on the edge of the bed, still damp, her towel clinging to her skin, while Alex paced silently across the room. The soft hum of the heater filled the space between their silence. Every few seconds, Mira glanced at the phone on the dresser. The name had vanished from the screen, but its impact hadn't. "I just don't understand," Alex muttered, running a hand through his hair. His voice was low, steady, but Mira could hear the pain carefully tucked between each word. "How could I not know this part of you?" Mira swallowed. "Because I never thought it would matter again." "But it does. You didn't tell me about him." He turned to her. "Was he more than just a mistake?" Mira's fingers curled into the towel. Her heart thudded loudly in her chest. "It wasn't love," she said. "But it left a mark. I was young. I needed to feel wanted, seen." Alex sat down beside her, his weight shifting the mattress. Their knees brushed, familiar skin, unfamiliar emotions. "I thought I made you feel seen." "You did. You do." Mira hesitated, then whispered, "But something's changed, Alex. Between us. We stopped reaching for each other. We just exist." The words hung in the air like broken glass, fragile, sharp, undeniable. Alex didn't speak for a long moment. His fingers hovered near hers but didn't touch. "Is that why you've been distant?" he asked. "Why you've been staying later at the studio? Or why you flinch when I touch you in bed?" Mira turned to him, eyes wide. "No. It's not like that." He looked away. "Is it him? Is he back in your life?" That question hurt more than she expected. Because it wasn't just about a man from her past. It was about now. About the cracks neither of them had patched, about the conversations they stopped having when things got too busy, too quiet, too familiar. She didn't answer. Outside, the wind brushed against the window. A familiar ringtone suddenly buzzed again, this time from Alex's phone. He ignored it, but Mira noticed the contact photo, a woman's face she didn't recognize. They both saw the other flinch. "What's her name?" Mira asked, voice barely a whisper. Alex looked at her, startled. "Don't turn this on me. I'm not. I just want to know if you've been feeling it too. That emptiness." He didn't answer right away. Instead, they sat in the dim room, two lovers no longer sure where the line between love and loneliness blurred. Everything looked the same, but felt so different. And in that quiet, there was a shared ache neither could deny. A growing distance, like a tide slowly pulling them apart. And still, neither of them stood up to leave. The silence between them was suffocating now, no longer peaceful, but heavy with words unsaid. Mira wrapped her arms around herself, though it wasn't cold. It was something deeper. A chill under her skin, in her heart. Alex leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his hands clasped tightly together. He didn't look at her, but his voice was raw. "Tell me the truth, Mira. If I hadn't walked in tonight, if I hadn't touched your leg, would you have ever told me?" Mira blinked, her throat tightening. "I wanted to," she said quietly. "So many times. But I was afraid I'd lose you. You're losing me now." That broke something inside her. The ache she had been swallowing for months finally spilled over, and she turned toward him, her voice trembling. "Do you think I haven't noticed you pulling away too? You stopped holding me at night. You stopped asking how I was. You've been here, but not really. I thought you were tired. I thought you just needed space. I needed you, Alex." His eyes finally met hers. And in that moment, everything was bare. They weren't fighting about a scar. Or a man from her past. They were fighting for what remained of their love, trying to reach across a chasm neither of them had wanted to create. Alex moved closer, his hand hesitating near her cheek, unsure. "I still want you," he said, voice hoarse. "But I don't know if you're still mine." Her breath hitched. "I don't know either," she whispered. They leaned in, faces just inches apart. Eyes locked. So close, but unsure if touching would heal them, or shatter what was left. The doorbell rang. A sharp, sudden sound that cut through everything. They froze. Neither of them moved. Mira's heart pounded. She knew. Somehow, she knew who it was. Alex stood slowly, glancing toward the hallway. "Are you expecting someone?" Mira didn't answer. Because the truth was, part of her had been waiting for this moment. And now, she had no idea which man was about to be on the other side of that door. Alex stared at the front door as if it had spoken. The chime echoed in the hall again, slow, deliberate, expectant. Mira's breath caught in her throat. Her fingers clenched the towel tighter, as if it could protect her from what was coming. "I'll get it," Alex said, already walking away. "Alex, wait." But he was gone. Mira stood frozen for a moment, heart racing. She knew who it could be. Not because she had planned it, but because fate has a cruel sense of timing. Alex opened the door, and standing there, calm, hands in the pockets of his dark coat, was Rian. Tall, confident, eyes burning with something far too knowing for this hour. Alex narrowed his eyes. "Can I help you?" Rian smiled, slow and measured. "I'm looking for Mira." The way he said her name, it wasn't casual. It was intimate. Familiar. Like it belonged to him once, maybe still did. Alex turned halfway, his tone suddenly sharpened. "Mira?" She appeared in the hallway, her body wrapped tight in silence and a robe. "Rian," she breathed. Not "what are you doing here," just his name. And that said everything. Alex turned fully toward her, realization dawning on his face. "This is him," he said, voice low. "The one from before." Rian stepped into the light, calm but unflinching. "She didn't tell you?" "We used to be, very close." "Rian, stop," Mira said sharply. But it was too late. The damage was done. Alex's expression cracked, not with rage, but something worse. Disbelief. Pain. Rian's eyes flicked between them, reading the room like an open book. "You said you'd be alone tonight," he said quietly, "just for her." Mira froze. Alex inhaled slowly, trying to stay composed. Alone for what? She opened her mouth, but Rian's gaze never left her. "For answers," he said. "You told me you needed to talk, that you missed who you used to be." Her knees almost buckled. She felt the weight of both men watching her, but in such different ways, one with trust breaking, the other with a door waiting to reopen. Alex backed away, like he didn't recognize her anymore. "So it wasn't just a scar, it's a connection. One you're still keeping alive." "No," she said quickly, stepping forward. I never meant for this to happen." Rian tilted his head. "But it did." And then, without invitation, he stepped inside. Mira stood between them, heart pounding louder than the silence that gripped the room. Her robe felt suddenly too thin, the air too heavy. Alex's eyes were locked on hers, betrayal, disbelief, and a final shred of hope flickering in the corners of his expression. "I didn't bring him here," she said, voice breaking. "I didn't ask for any of this." "But you didn't stop it either," Alex said softly. "That's what hurts." Rian remained still, a silent shadow in the doorway. "You said you were tired of pretending, Mira," he murmured. "That you didn't know who you were anymore in this marriage." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "I didn't mean it like that." She looked at Alex, trembling. I was lost. But I never stopped loving you. Alex stepped closer, his voice shaking. Then why did you let someone else carry the pieces of you I should have been holding? That question shattered her. And in that moment, the truth she had been running from became crystal clear. I've been afraid of becoming invisible, she whispered. You used to see me, really see me. And somewhere along the way, we both stopped looking. Alex's eyes softened, but his pain remained. I never stopped loving you, Mira. I just didn't know how to reach you anymore. She turned to Rian, her voice steadier now. You reminded me of who I used to be. But I don't want to go back to her. I want to fight for who I've become, with the man who stood beside me through everything. Rian nodded slowly, his smile sad but accepting. Then I guess this is goodbye. He walked out without another word. As the door closed, Mira exhaled like she hadn't breathed in months. She turned to Alex. The silence between them wasn't empty anymore. It was waiting, tender, broken, but full of possibility. Alex pulled her gently into his arms, not out of forgiveness, but out of love. A love that had bent, fractured, and somehow survived. But just as the moment softened into hope, her phone buzzed again. Alex looked down. A message from Rian's number. You made the wrong choice. You don't know everything yet. The house was quiet the next morning, wrapped in a kind of stillness that only comes after a storm has passed. Mira sat by the window, her fingers curled around a mug of tea gone cold. The city outside moved on like nothing had happened. But inside her heart, everything had shifted. Alex joined her, barefoot, carrying 2 slices of toast. No grand gestures. Just quiet presence. Neither of them spoke for a while. I read the message, he said eventually. From Rian. I figured, Mira replied softly. Alex set down the plate. I don't care what else he thinks I don't know. I know what matters. Mira looked at him, eyes searching. And what's that? That you chose to stay. And that's something we rebuild from. If we're still willing. She reached for his hand. I am. But I need us to be honest this time. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's messy. Alex nodded. We stopped talking somewhere along the way. Maybe we were too focused on surviving to remember how to be together. Outside, the morning sun broke through the clouds, casting a soft glow over their faces. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. But it was real. And sometimes, that's enough. Mira later found the strength to block Rian's number, not out of hate, but out of clarity. She no longer needed echoes of her past to remind her of who she was. She had grown. Hurt. Healed. And in the wreckage of nearly losing everything, she had rediscovered what love could look like, flawed, quiet, but still alive. That night, she and Alex sat together on the couch, no distractions, no pretenses. Just 2 people trying again. It's not about never breaking, Mira whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. It's about choosing to stay when the cracks appear. Alex kissed her forehead gently. Then let's stay. The screen fades to black. A single line appears, real love isn't perfect. But it shows up. Even after the silence.